There's a stretch of highway, deep in the countryside, that few dare to travel after dark. They say something haunts that road. Something fast, relentless, and unforgiving. It's not a person or an animal, but a truck. A massive, roaring truck with no driver and headlights that pierce the night like eyes from hell. It was a cold, moonless night when Greg decided to take that road, ignoring the warnings. His truck rumbled down the desolate highway, the only sound in the stillness of the night. He had driven for miles, not another car in sight when he first saw it. Far in the distance, headlights appeared. At first, Greg thought it was just another truck, but something about the way it moved was wrong. It sped toward him, impossibly fast. In a flash, the truck was behind him. Its enormous headlights filled his rear-view mirror, blinding him. The engine roared like a beast, and Greg could feel the ground shake beneath his tires. He floored the gas, but no matter how fast he went, the truck stayed right on his tail, inches away from crashing into him. Greg glanced over his shoulder, trying to catch a glimpse of the driver, but there was no one behind the wheel. It was empty. A truck with no driver, possessed by something far more terrifying. The truck honked, a deafening blast as it swerved, trying to force him off the road. Panicked, Greg made a sharp turn onto a dirt road. His tires screeched as he swerved off the highway, praying the truck wouldn't follow. But as he looked back, the phantom truck was gone. Vanished without a trace, leaving only silence in its wake. Greg never drove that road again, but some nights, when the wind is just right, he swears he can still hear it. The phantom truck's engine rumbling in the distance, waiting for the next unlucky soul to cross its path. It was just past midnight when William found himself driving on that desolate road. The air was thick with fog, and the trees on either side loomed like silent sentinels. His headlights cut through the darkness, but they only seemed to deepen the shadows. He didn't know it yet, but he wasn't alone. As he rounded a bend, he saw him, standing in the middle of the road. A tall man, dressed in tattered 18th century clothing, his face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. His posture was unnaturally still, and his eyes, glowing with a pale, unnatural light, seemed to lock onto Williams as his car slowed to a stop. The figure took a step toward the car, his movements slow, deliberate. Williams' heart raced as he tried to reverse, but the car stalled, the engine coughing and dying in the thick air. The ghostly highwayman drew closer, his boots making no sound on the pavement. In the silence, William could hear his own breath, ragged, panicked. William's hands shook as he locked the doors, his eyes never leaving the figure. The highwayman stopped just inches from the hood of the car. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then, the ghost reached out with a skeletal hand, his fingers brushing the glass. The car's windows fogged over, and William could feel the air grow colder, like death itself had come knocking. Just as suddenly as he appeared, the highwayman was gone. The fog lifted, and the road was empty again. William's car roared back to life, and he sped away, heart pounding. But even now, he can still feel the chill in the air, the ghostly highwayman's final warning, to never return to that cursed road. It was a quiet, foggy evening on the outskirts of town. Officer James was on his usual patrol, the headlights cutting through the mist when suddenly he saw her. A little girl, no more than 8, standing alone by the roadside. The girl seemed harmless, lost maybe. Officer James decided to drive her home, but something about her was unsettling. The silence between them was heavy. The drive felt longer than it should have. The temperature in the car dropped suddenly, and the air felt heavy, like a storm was coming. Then, without warning, the girl's voice changed. It wasn't the voice of a little girl anymore. It was deeper, unnatural. Officer James felt a chill run down his spine. He glanced in the mirror again, and this time, Her eyes were glowing. Suddenly, the car swerved as the steering wheel twisted out of Officer James's hands. The air grew thick, and an invisible force pressed against him. Desperate, Officer James slammed on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt. When he looked back, the girl was gone. Only the empty, quiet night remained. Officer James thought he was safe, but from the darkness of the woods, a pair of glowing red eyes watched him, waiting for the next traveler to pass.